wrestling fans. Today is Friday, June 30th, 2023, and as I talked about last night on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, this episode of GMWF starting a little early because just a little bit ago I finished night one, or I should say morning one here in the United States, night there in Australia, but I finished the first show, a part of the Impact Wrestling Down Under tour this weekend, which be the first show is now in the books, and the second show will be tomorrow morning, same time, Fight TV. And let's get right into it. Impact Wrestling Down Under tour, the debut of Impact Wrestling in Australia, and it was live in Wagga Wagga, Australia, on Fight TV. Our commentators, Tom Hannafan and Matthew Raywalt, and we start things off our opening match of the night. We have some Australian talent, Flex defeating Adam Brooks. Pretty good opening match here. Both of them, of course, were over with the live Australia crowd. I thought this was a pretty good way to start the show with some local Australian talent, and I thought these two were a pretty good opening match. And next up we had the quintessential diva Giselle Shaw taking on another Australian talent, the Dreamtime Voodoo Witch Erica Reed. I have heard of Erica Reed. I'm going to say I know a whole lot about her though, and thought these two were a pretty good match. But it's Giselle Shaw getting the submission win here with an armbar, and I thought Tom Hannafan and Matt Raywalt did a good job of putting over the fact that it's kind of rare and not too common that we see Giselle Shaw get a submission win, but they explained that she was sending a message to the Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo, who she will be facing on tomorrow's show. And next up, we have the Impact Digital Media Championship on the line. Eddie Edwards taking on the champion Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry cuts a quick promo here for the Australia crowd, and good match here between him and Edwards. I thought have definitely been impressed with Joe Hendry as of late. This run as digital media champion, and he was pretty over here with the Australia crowd, just like pretty much all over the world he is, and he defeats Eddie Edwards to retain the Digital Media Championship. And next up, Killer Kelly taking on Aisha comes out with a bottle of champagne, and I'm going to say I'm too familiar with Aisha, but I thought she worked a pretty good match here with Killer Kelly, and it is Killer Kelly getting the win in this one. In a pretty good match, I thought. And we also see a video package showing some of the Impact Wrestling stars in a zoo there in Australia. And the Impact Wrestling X Division Championship is on the line in a three-way match. Chris Sabin taking on two challengers, Frankie Kazarian and Robbie Eagles. And Robbie Eagles, of course, most familiar, I'm sure, from New Japan Pro Wrestling. These three had a really good match, I thought. Of course, Sabin and Kazarian familiar with each other. Two Impact originals, two of the best to compete in the X Division. And I think Robbie Eagles, as an addition to this match, I thought was really good as well. Definitely a good match, and I would recommend, in case you did not see the show this morning, if you did not get up at 5 a.m. like me, if you're on the same time zone anyway, but I definitely recommend checking that match out. And tag team action up next. Moose and Brian Myers, the most professional wrestling gods, take on the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, ABC, Chris Bay, and Ace Austin. I think so far Moose and Brian Myers do make a pretty good heel tag team together, and Brian Myers is a good worker, and I have been impressed with Moose as of late. And, well, I thought he has stepped his game up lately. And also, ABC, they have been a great tag team this past year or so. And it is Bay and Austin getting the win to retain the tag team title. Or actually, I take that back. This was a non-title match, but they did get the win when Chris Bay pinned Brian Myers. Pretty good match here. It was a fun match. And Bay and Austin, definitely, I would say, one of the top teams in wrestling today, actually, even though I know Impact doesn't get as much attention as some other promotions like an AEW or WWE, but still, I think these two are definitely, as far as tag team wrestling goes, one of the top teams. And that Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo takes on Steph De Lander, who often competes in Game Changer Wrestling, and she has appeared for Impact before. And these two, I think, have a really good match here. Definitely impressed with what I have seen of Steph De Lander and Deonna Purrazzo. Definitely one of the top talents in the business. And these two, like I said, they worked a really good match together. And it is Deonna Purrazzo getting the win. She will be facing Giselle Shaw on tomorrow's show for the Knockouts Championship. And once again, just a really good match here between these two. And in the main event of the show, the Impact Wrestling World Championship is on the line. Steve Maclin getting his rematch from Against All Odds, taking on the Impact World Champion in his first title defense. One half of the Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, and these two had another really good match, I thought, in this main event. Maclin and Shelley, they had a good one at Against All Odds, and tonight, or this morning, was no different. And Alex Shelley gets the win, defeating Steve Maclin to retain the Impact Wrestling World Championship in his first title defense. Definitely a big fan of Alex Shelley for many years. I have talked about that on the podcast. Him and Chris Sabin. Definitely glad to see both of them on top of Impact Wrestling right now as the world champion and as the X Division champion as well. So far, that was Impact Wrestling, the first show of the Down Under tour. And I thought it was a really good show, actually. Had some good wrestling on it. But Impact Wrestling is not done yet. Tomorrow, show 2 of this Australian tour, which will start at the same time on Fight TV. In case you missed this one, I think you could still order the pack of both shows on Fight TV, or if you just want to order the second one by itself, you can do that as well. But it is a better deal, though, to order both shows just for one price of $24.99 instead of paying $14.99 for one show. And once again, I enjoyed the first show of this Impact Down Under tour. I hope if you woke up, if you are somewhere where it's still early, like here in Michigan, and to watch this show, hopefully you enjoyed it just like I did. And hopefully you will join me right here tomorrow to recap the second show. And now, on to tonight. On this Friday, we have WWE Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage, which SmackDown will be taped tonight from London, England, the site of tomorrow night's WWE Money in the Bank. I'll just say tomorrow night, even though here in the United States it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. But, like I said, I'll just go ahead and say tomorrow night anyway. And SmackDown taped, or Rampage, taped also on Wednesday night in Hamilton, Ontario. We had those two shows to watch tonight. And I hope to do a episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. And also tonight on SmackDown, which will be live from London, England, from the O2 Arena, will feature the return of the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, and this is the go-home SmackDown before Money in the Bank tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll also feature the Usos heading into the Bloodline Civil War tomorrow. Also tonight, Logan Paul, who will be competing in his first Money in the Bank match tomorrow, will be a guest on the Grayson Waller Effect, and the WWE Women's Champion Asuka will be defending against Charlotte Flair. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defend their undisputed tag team championships against Pretty Deadly, and that should be quite an entertaining match, or at least I would think so anyway. And then right after SmackDown tonight, we have AEW Rampage on TNT. And then tomorrow night, WWE Money in the Bank tomorrow afternoon, which, like I said, instead of just doing separate podcasts, I'm going to combine the two recaps in one episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, or try to anyway, where I will recap Money in the Bank and AEW Saturday Collision. I will try to also do a live episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, as well as I have been doing on nights when we have special events like this. And got a big weekend of pro wrestling. Like I said, tomorrow morning, once again, is the second show of the Impact Wrestling Down Under tour. So, tomorrow's Good Morning Wrestling fans will be another recap. Not sure what time. Hopefully, again, after I watch the show like I did this morning, instead of the normal Good Morning Wrestling fans routine, where I'm walking to work while recording the podcast, doing things a little different this morning. But that's all for this morning's episode. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Hope everyone has a great Friday. Feel free to leave your questions and comments and your feedback on Impact Wrestling Show 1 of the Down Under Tour. And again, predictions for Money in the Bank tomorrow in the comment section on Spreaker, or whichever podcast website or podcast app you are listening to on. Leave your feedback and Money in the Bank predictions there. Also, if you have a company or a business you want to advertise here on 360 Wrestling Podcasts, you can just email me at 360wrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. I hope that we can work something out, and I hope to do a good ad for you right here on the podcast. Hopefully I won't mess up too badly. But that's all for this morning. Once again, we'll try to be back tonight for a SmackDown and Rampage recap on 360 Wrestling Fanatic, and then tomorrow morning, a recap of the second Impact Down Under Tour show, and I hope also to do a preview of Money in the Bank, talk about each match on the show, or try to anyway. But that's all for this morning's episode on this Friday. Until tomorrow, keep watching pro wrestling.